Hi class, it's Mrs. Latinsky here again for another art lesson. I'm glad you could join me today. Today, I'm going to introduce something from another culture. It's an art form called Rangoli, and it's a special celebration, ceremonial kind of artwork that is special because it's a temporary thing. It's not something that's meant to be permanent, and that makes it pretty special. This kind of artwork you can find a lot in the country of India. It's based on the format of a circle and it radiates out from the circle. So we have a lot of balance going on. We have something called radial symmetry, which is a feature of art which has all the parts of it arranged like according to a circle. So one side matches the other side, but one side also matches that other side. All the way around, you can fold it separate ways and the sides are all the same. That's radial symmetry. There's also something called bilateral symmetry, which is when you can take two sides of something and fold it and it's the same on either side. Today, technically, it has bilateral symmetry as well, but we're going to focus on radial symmetry, which is something in the shape of a circle that you can cut any old way, and all the sides and all the cuts you make out of it will look the same. And I'll show you some great examples of it. One of the things I want to show you is a video by an artist named Pranali Tulsankar, and she creates Rangoli in a very traditional way using sand. Now, I don't expect all of you to have colored sand around, but I am going to show you a video, which you can see in the links below, where she demonstrates the traditional method of using sand. You pour sand into these elaborate, beautiful designs. Now, one more thing about Rangoli to note is that they're often focused on really pretty floral designs and things you'll find in nature. So some of the shapes you'll see are ones that are more organic shapes as opposed to geometric shapes. We got to do some Rangoli outside with students at our school, and I thought you'd like to see some of the beautiful examples they created. Look at the different colors and look at how it begins in the center with like a circle shape and it keeps radiating out further and further and further. And you can see a repetition of natural designs. It looks like a flower. There's also repetitions of certain kinds of lines, like we've got a swirly here and a zigzag here. So a lot of repetition takes place. There's kind of a rhythm to them where they come in regular intervals, and sometimes there's a variety of intervals as well, but we have alternating color patterns. So this was a really great example. In India, you can find these beautiful artwork around the holiday of Diwali, which is in October and November each year. You can find it other times too, but especially then. And this one I loved. This is where somebody got the clever idea of using the circle tabletop outside at the school right by the playground and turned it into a Rangoli design. And finally, I have one of the teachers did a really huge, elaborate one too. I think this was Miss Jones. She did a great job. But what you can see here is if I were to draw a line right down here, one side would match the other. And if I drew a line diagonally across here, one side which would match another. And that's what I'm talking about when I talk about radial symmetry. If you were to cut a radius straight through this circle, one side would match the other side. It's symmetry, means it's the same, symmetrical on either side. This side matches that side. This Rangoli was created by artist Sudhir Saravaram. And if you look closely, you can see that it's composed of little teeny pieces. It looks like flower petals or different kind of food products, but that's also very common. And it's in the traditional circular shape where everything radiates out from the center. In many cultures, this is also known as a mandala form, which basically means the word circle in the Sanskrit language. If you look closely at this one, you can see the very center. There's a mound of some sort of little ball, I think. And there's kind of a swirl shape radiating out from the center. And then we reach another level. It's like these go in layers. So this layer has swirls, and this layer here looks like it has this almost like a flower petal shape. And the purple color repeats. There's a rhythm and repetition here with the orange, yellow, orange, yellow, orange, yellow, orange, yellow, going round and round. And then up here in this next layer, you have another repetition of that same color here, orange, yellow, orange, yellow, orange, yellow. They see that? And it's filled in with white in the middle, and it looks like there's some heart shapes involved too. For today's project, you're going to need that box colored pencils, a regular pencil, and a white piece of computer paper. Now to start out drawing a Rangoli, it's really helpful for me to put a dot in the center of the page. I know it sounds strange, but it helps me. And then I like to imagine it in terms of circles that they radiate out from that center point. When you draw these circles, you don't have to focus on them being perfect, but if you want to, you could always trace something that's round like a cup or a bowl if you really want to try to get layers of different perfect symmetrical circles. I don't bother, and mine are a little lopsided, but I think it still works out in the end. Here you get to fill in that first layer. I did something like a natural flower looking thing and experimented with some dots and really play around. Make some patterns that look good. Maybe it doesn't work, try again. It's okay. Now for the next layer, just build on out some more shapes. For this next layer, I began working out even more. And while this looks really complicated, you really just need to think about it in terms of layer that you fill in after layer. And I'm just playing around, putting swirls that repeat themselves and filling in the blank space between it. The shapes are pretty simple. This is just a pretty simple line that swirls. And then this next shape I make here is really just something I made up, just like a organic shape that kind of looks like a whale's tail. I don't know what it is, but I thought it would look sort of nice between these swirls. And that's all you do. Just fill in the space with different repeating shapes. See, I do that same whale tail thing in between each of the swirls because I felt like it. As I build out, you'll notice I like to rotate my paper as I go. It's really helpful for you to find all the sections that mirror each other that way. Time to color your artwork. Get out your colored pencils. Much like we did when we were drawing it, with the colors, you just work your way out from the inside out, layer by layer. I like to alternate those colors just like I like to alternate the shapes. So I would take blue and green and alternate them in that layer, and maybe for the next layer I'd pull out one of the colors I used before. See, I used red here. That was actually the first time I introduced red, but I wanted that in there. And that same green I'd used in the center, so I repeated it again. And this layer I'm making an orange background, but I'm still pulling in the yellow from the center again. You'll see repeated colors, and you can use them in alternating fashion if you want. I really do that in this one. I could do a red and then a green, and you see it repeated there, and it builds on out until it gets to the yellow on that layer. Rangoli looks like it's really complicated, but if you just focus on layer by layer, step by step, shape by shape, it's really not that complicated to make. Think about whether you could do these outside yourself. If you have some sidewalk chalk, ask your parents. Maybe you could try it out on your sidewalk, just like they do in India, out in front of your home. Some beautiful piece of art that may only last a little bit, but it'll still bring a smile to people's faces who pass by and see the beautiful thing that you created. Please share your artworks, the ones you drew on paper or the ones you draw with chalk. I'd love to see them.